What's going on, YouTube world? It's your man KI bringing you another video. Remember that time Drake made a bunch of references about Jay-Z in articles and interviews? Most notably, the Rolling Stone magazine. He made some comments about Jay-Z that alluded to Jay-Z being out of touch. Out of touch with the people, out of touch with the audience, because he makes a lot of references to high-end art and high-end living in general that the average consumer of the music probably couldn't relate to. I personally disagree with Drake's point of view because I didn't know what a Basquiat was until Jay-Z said something about it, and it prompted me to kind of look it up. So actually, Jay-Z is kind of educating us about certain things. But that was Drake's point of view at the time. Jay-Z didn't take too kindly to this. So what Jay-Z did was he said a few lines about Drake in one song, the DJ Khaled song, They Don't Love Us No More. Then he made a whole verse about Drake in Nigga We Made It song with Jay Electronica. In the Nigga We Made It song specifically, Jay-Z went full-blown 5% on Drake. And I think he did this because Drake is half white. I don't know if some of y'all are familiar with the 5% Nation, but the 5% Nation believes that the white man is the devil. They don't believe the white man is the devil in a literal sense. So they don't believe this guy got a pitchfork and he's in fire somewhere, the white people. They believe that white man is the devil because since their time on the planet, they have done a lot of evil things, a lot of devilish acts. They did a lot of devilish acts all around the world. For instance, they killed up a lot of those Aborigines in Australia, right? They took over the whole Australia, conquered it. They went to South America, killed a lot of those Indians that was there. Same thing with the Caribbean, same thing with the Native Americans in America, the same thing with the Africans. So they believe that their time on the planet, they have done a lot of evil. The opposite of the devil is God. So they believe that black man is the God. And they believe that not in a literal interpretation as we're divine beings, but we have brought a lot of things to society that we're not getting credit for. For instance, Egypt has brought a lot to civilization, but we're not giving credit to that because a lot of people don't know that Egyptians were actually black. And they do this through imagery. If you see a lot of Hollywood movies, Gods and Kings, the Ten Commandments, the Mummy, all of those people, Egyptians are white. This imagery is false because when you look at the artifacts that they bring out the tombs, when you look at the actual hieroglyphics on the wall, they're all people of color. And they're not Arabs either. Arabs conquered that land and brought Islam to that land many, many centuries later. But they're there now. The same way white people are in America now and they outnumber the actual Indians is the same way how Arabs are in Egypt and they outweigh the actual Africans that are really from there. But that's beside the point. I'm just giving you a little background on what the 5% Nation basically believe, right? The background is basically to give you a reference point so when you listen in, you actually understand the mind frame and the psychology of the people who actually study the 5% Nation's teachings. So without further ado, here's the diss song from Jay-Z that we all forgot about that was fire. Nigga, we made it.
On the slave ship, live from the cotton field, straight to the spaceship.
Kind of makes me wonder why the hell so many people are trying to tell me to slow down. Seems like motherfuckers should be shutting the hell up and enjoying the show.
Hopped up the slave ship, popped up my chain and took it to Jacob. I gotta go play there. Walked in that bitch like, nigga, we made it. I own my own masters. No, I ain't missing no royalty statements. I can't be rated. God. Damn, ho, stun on them haters. Sorry, Mr. Drizzy, for so much y'all talk. Silly me rapping about shit that I really bought. Why these rappers rap about guns they ain't shot? And a bunch of other silly shit that they ain't got. I'm on my loop, Peter, young go. Stunting on stage after 12 years a slave. This ace of spade look like an Oscar. Black chucks look like a monster. Don't make me raya. Nigga, watch your tone. I come to court with black boxes on. Y'all hella jealous of my melatonin. I can black out at any given moment. I'm God. Jesus, 7-letter made. So with my arms to feet shackle, I still get paid. All praise is due. I'm ready to chase a Yaku back in the cage. These are the last days. What do do I sing phase? Showed up to the last supper in some brand new J's. I'm the true living, book a hoe. New religion, ain't from the other world. Alien superstition. You blind, baby. Blind to the fact of who you are, maybe. My bloodline's crazy. Kings and queens and Michael Jordan rings. I go stupido, sucio. The flow's filthy. Y'all can't kill me. I've been inoculated from the snakes in the face and your corny handshakes. Cocksucker, we made it.
Like motherfuckers should be shutting the hell up and enjoying the show.
Hopped up a slave ship. Popped up my chain and took it to Jacob. I gotta go play this. More than that bitch, like nigga, we made it. I own my own masters.
You heard that? He said he owned his own masters. So we all know now that Lil Wayne just sold the masters to his catalog. Drake's and Nicki's catalog got $100 million for it. Drake don't own his own masters. So when you comparing the two, he's basically trying to separate himself, saying, I own my own masters. You know, I ain't missing no royalty statements.
No, I ain't missing no royalty statements. I can't be rated. God. Damn, ho, stun on them haters. Sorry, Mr. Drizzy, for so much y'all talk. Silly me, rapping.
He said, sorry, Mrs. Drizzy, talking about Drake, for so much art talk. Because, like I said before, Drake said something about him in a magazine, and he said people can't relate to him because he's talking all this art stuff. So he's letting it be known that he's directly responding to Drake.
That I really bought. Why these rappers rap about guns they ain't shot, and a bunch of other silly shit that they ain't got. I'm on my loop, Peter, young go, stunting on stage after 12 years a slave. This ace of spade look like an Oscar. Black tux look like a monster. Don't make me lie, ya, nigga. Watch your tone. I come to
telling him to watch his tone, and he probably saying all of that because Drake caught a bunch of L's, and every time he takes an L and somebody does something to him, like dude peed on his leg, Diddy was reportedly smacked him or whatever, he goes to his uncle in Houston, Jay Prince, and Jay Prince got to take up for him. So he's like the punk kid on the block that got a big brother that might be live, and every time he get in trouble, he goes to his big brother. He can't carry his own weight.
black boxes on. Y'all hella jealous of my melatonin. I can black out at any given moment. I'm God. Jesus 7-letter made, so with my arms feet shackle, I still get paid.
He said he's God. G is the 7th letter made. That's why the 7 is on the 5% flag.
Crazy dude, I'm ready to chase a Yaku back in the cage. These are the last days. What do I?
So when he referenced Yakub, the 5% believe that Yakub was the devil, which is the white man, and he came from the Caucasus Mountains, in the caves of the Caucasus Mountains, and he came back. He came down and caused a lot of destruction. So that's why Jay-Z said, I'm ready to chase Yakub back in the cave. He's referencing Drake and all this because Drake is, as we all know now, Drake's mother was white. So he's probably digging at Drake, saying, bro, I'm full-blooded, and you got half Yakub in you. That's why you jealous of me.
Phase showed up to the last supper in some brand new J's. I'm the true living, book a hoe. New religion ain't from the other world. Alien superstition. You blind, baby. Blind to the fact of who you are, maybe.
See, again, he's referencing you blind, baby, blind to the fact of who you are, maybe, because he's saying like, yo, bro, you have white. I'm full-blooded. You got to have devil in you, and that's why you act and move the way you act.
My bloodline's crazy. Kings and queens and Michael Jordan rings. I go stupido, sucio.
See, he said his bloodline is crazy. Kings and queens and Michael Jordan rings. He's basically saying my bloodline birthed greatness, and yours don't.
Flow's filthy. Y'all can't kill me. I've been inoculated from the snakes in the face and your corny handshakes. Cocksucker, we made it.
I think that was probably a direct reference to corny handshake, to something that we probably don't know about. But, you know, you get energy from handshakes. So he probably shook Drake's hand a few times and felt that Drake is a bozo. You know, it's kind of hard to relate to somebody like Jay-Z when you somebody like Drake, because they so far on the other end of the spectrum. Jay-Z is a guy that come from the projects of Marcy. He survived the most dangerous era in New York City, which is the 80s, in the early 90s. He was in the game. So they on the two different sides of the spectrum. Drake was a guy that's from the suburbs of Toronto. He lived in the house, grew up in a house with his white mother. He was a child actor, a child star, basically on Degrassi. He wound up being a rapper, and take nothing from him. He's great. He's a great artist. We don't take nothing from him. But when we're talking about relatability, Jay-Z, they really don't have too much in common. And you can tell Drake looks like one of those kids that's like, he don't really know shit real, like how it could get real. He ain't really seen all of that stuff. You know, he never been through all of that stuff like that. So, you know, it's hard to relate. But back to the song, Jay-Z is one of the GOATs. He came at Drake. It got swept under the rug. And I just wanted to shed a little light on it because it's one of my favorite verses from Jay-Z. He kills it and he drops a lot of jewels in it. And you know, tell me what you think. Like, comment, hate, subscribe, do what you do.